Yeah, people, I'm back, and I'm looking to have an exceptionally amazing show. I know we did one earlier, but I said, you know what? I have time on my hands. I'm looking to build up this channel, looking to build up the Uncle Bobby brand, and why not just continue to deliver some hits over here. As I remind everybody, I bring you bang after bang after banger. And maybe you might get annoyed from those notification, bells, giving you constant notifications. But that's just the way I run things around here. Very, ambitious individual, taking every opportunity, to get to the people, deliver some entertainment and possibly raise up, the value over here. Maybe even some of the expectations or the lack thereof. Maybe picking up the viewership or the lack thereof. I'm sorry, I had to stop what I was doing. To make sure that the life of the two Shih Tzus over there doesn't get too crazy. They're very nosy. There was a package that came in. I put it on top of the bed, and all of a sudden, now they want to know what the fuck it is. I don't know why. They're just very inquisitive. Anything that you bring into the home, anything new, they'll know, and they'll fucking sniff it out. And if it looks interesting enough, and if they have enough time, they would rip it to pieces. So I had to stop what I was doing to make sure that doesn't happen. And then that tends to happen sometimes to expensive sneakers like my Jordans, or even some of the things that my former co-host and roommate Debbie Cakes may own. And did you check out her little blog yesterday? She was doing several different things. She was at the Anime Con, not the Comic Con. And again, there's so many cons. I apologize for the earlier show. I did stumble and fumble about that. But maybe you can go check her out at Blazler85. And again, that's at Blazler85. And another cheap pop for my boy Flip the Beast. That's Flip the Beast all together. FLIPTHA Beast. And I might look like a beast right now. My hair's a little beastly. But yeah, again, giving my boy the cheap pop over there on the show. He's doing his music over there. You definitely can check him out on all platforms, on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, pretty much anywhere, music can be found. This man is looking to break grounds like me. I'm looking to break the internet digital by digital, bit by bit, even if I wasn't there when they built that. I like to think that, Uncle Bobby, the Remember Me podcast, is possibly the strongest foundation that YouTube has to stand on. And I stand on this, even if the algorithms, and the AI detection and the shadow banning of, you using certain kind of content and slurs, slangs, and, any pretty much racy content possibly could push you a little bit behind. Maybe not getting enough views, maybe not getting enough, what do you say, attention. And as I'm bringing attention and I'm bringing awareness to the conversation of, creators trying to get their names out, trying to get their products out to the community here. And, you may have issues with that if the AI doesn't like what you're doing, if it doesn't believe in what you're doing. Do you believe in what you're doing? I do believe I have the ability to do this, the passion. The ability, the hand-to-eye coordination, the advanced hand-to-hand training, the things that I tell you about people as they attempt to follow my moves. I think AI should learn to study my moves and definitely help me move and grow here. So I'm looking to continue my content growth here as a creator. And with that being said, sometimes it's a little bit tricky maneuvering through some of these talking points. Sometimes you may get caught up with some audio feedback and get some residual noise that can get you pulled off the air, and you wasn't aware of it, and you were cooking people. And it's hard to go back into that if you weren't, writing some of these dialogues here. As I tend to just shoot from the hip. But is those usages of words and slang and everything else going to stop my movements, my algorithm, as I talk about the data, the numbers, the statistics, that squiggly line going on the way to the tippy top? As I create more hours of content, create more conversation, possibly creating more memory, looking to make history, looking to take these videos to, the hundreds. And I do have clips that's in the hundreds, but I'm talking about these videos right now, these sit downs, these conversations that I like to have with the people, the sweet people of YouTube. I'm talking about the fact that these algorithms are now in the control of AI trained chips over here. Using the statistics, the numbers, the tags, the subscriptions no longer matter. It's more about the way they think you could get marketed, your ability to possibly, get out there. And as the number decreased, when they talk about the people that make it like successful, content creators, they say that the number is about a 3% or so of people that make it successful move online. And now with this whole situation, these new rules, regulations, and algorithms, and all this new form of tech control here, is it gonna, doom the small creator? Is it gonna stagnate the ability to get to, the public? And get those numbers, hit those high notes there, possibly creating a steady amount of people that are, possibly crazy, possibly stalkish, possibly cultish. Fans are going to be inducted into the cult of Uncle Bobby, and is that going to stagnate the way I induct people? No, excuse me, induct people into the cult of Uncle Bobby. Is it going to stagnate the way that I conduct business? Is this what it is, people? Is this it? The technological revolution over here? Is this what's happening here? Have we been dealt a bad hand now that we're talking about AI making judgment? Is it judgment day already? Am I going to be able to, am I going to have to be the Sean Connor? I'm sorry. The John Connor of the podcast game. Am I going to have to go at it? With these train bots, these robots, these, mechanical beings over here, the machine. Am I going to have to deal with it? We keep talking about this. Is it going to lead to content suppression? Is it going to lead to creative depression? We all are looking to leave, big impressions. And I'm not going to leave bigger impressions than my YouTube impressions. I normally would say Spotify, but you can catch me on the Remember Me podcast on Spotify as well. We haven't gotten videos over there because, again, I don't have the technology or the availability to make these files, get the consumables so that it can transfer over, as I need a little bit more power, a little bit more juice. I don't have enough fiber optics and Wi-Fi is running around here, just working tirelessly, as I commit myself working tirelessly to making these videos now. Sometimes I want to just bring the videos over there, and I just had trouble doing that, so it kind of made me just decide to go with the YouTube route, with the YouTube videos. Putting a face to the voice, looking to be the people's choice, looking to be the people's champ over here. I'm looking to take that people's championship from around Dwayne The Rock Johnson's waistline, exposing this man's waistline in Johnson. And reign over everybody, all bodies. And, possibly, manipulating your body too, as they say, that I might just be possessive. I might be a demonic form of takeover right now. I might be allowing outside forces to handle, the way I control my business now. They say things now. I'm like a Bobby. He must have been inducted into the cult of lizards. He doesn't look like the same Uncle Bobby. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's not even any of those things. Maybe I haven't been approached by, some form of weird devil, weird amphibious, subterranean being and then did a blood off. Maybe it's none of that stuff. Maybe it's just because I have debilitating health issues. Maybe it's because I was so desperate that I was willing to even take healthcare advice from Robert Kennedy Jr. and my desperation that I just had to wake myself up and like, what the fuck is happening? You might as well just do podcasts. As you continue to be a podcast of plenty pods. Sorry. I'm sweating over here. Sweat is dripping into my eyes. Creating the pod people, hopefully you're going to be my people. But is it going to, affect my ability to do what I do and my ability to do it? As I talk, about having an insight and a foresight and sight beyond sight, like a lion-o. And I can do it like a lion-o too. No, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this inside situation going on with the content and the creators and the issues with AI and the way that it's going to maneuver, the videos, the way that people get to screen them. Is that why people can't crack the numbers, the system, the data? There's so many videos telling you how you can get monetized in a couple of days. You can get millions of views on a video just by doing this. And it's silly stuff to clickbait you into a desperate sense. When we talk about being, up and coming, creators over here and losing subscribers. And, you don't want to just lose your head. You don't want to start wigging out. But you want to just deal with that evolution that you're obviously dealing with. And maybe you could switch up some of the way you do your productions. Maybe you could get a little bit more interactive. Maybe you could be a little bit more spontaneous. And I'm looking to be interactive with the, fans over here. I'm looking to be spontaneous when I, answer all your questions over here. As I'm looking for people to comment on this show, make it interactive. Maybe we can get a back and forth conversation going. These psyops. Do what I do. And run these psyops on you. I don't know if this was running when I wasn't paying attention again. This might have happened twice. They say you don't want to smoke on camera right now with all this stuff being demonetized. But then I go into my Charlotte Buff rant. I put myself in a space where I just don't give a fuck. I don't give a shit about what you think, or the algorithms, or the AI, or the suppressing, and the shadow banning. I'm still going to continue to fight the good fight. As I crash out of the internet, with everybody saying, what the fuck is this man talking about? No, I'm just playing. No, but I want everybody to be talking about me. Whether you're laughing at me or laughing with me. Either way, I just want to remind everybody from the morning, afternoon, or whenever we catch you, to just remember me. And not just the podcast, but remember that I'm going to be, doing tons of shows. And I'm looking to do this for a long time. You know my slogans by now. And if you don't, I'm looking to do this like a Madonna, like a Cher, like a Bette Midler, like a Danny DeVito, like a Danny Glover, like a Dolly Parton, like a Sigourney Weaver, like a Ernie Hudson, like a Rosetta Scotto, or like an Ernie Ernesto. Because the list continues to grow, as I continue to observe people that have been doing this for a long time. And I'm looking to do this for a long time. Possibly longer than you think I can do this. Because, I'm making this a way now. And hopefully you'll find that a lot of other people are going to find they're in the way of the Titan, of the Juggernaut, of the Kaiju, of the man, the myth, the legend, of the Momoa, and the housewife, even if they say I live like the Japanese beef jerky. Yeti. I don't care. As long as I got this mic in my hand, it's like I'm dropping $1 on these bitches. It's like it's really to swing these buggy whip podcasters all around. And now they're going to find that they're in the way. Now I'm on YouTube. And they say I may be taking this too serious, even though I don't want to be guilty of taking myself too serious, people. But, with that being said, hopefully you enjoyed this little, episode. I'm not going to run it for too long. I got other things that I have to do as I'm taking advantage of all the availabilities. But, I'm still putting out, some properties. I'm still giving myself the cheap pop. I'm letting everybody know about other creators that I personally know who's looking for personal growth here. And, I might as well help them out as well. But I don't know if they're giving me shout-outs on their shows. Do they go to their shows and say, oh, Uncle Bobby shouted you out on the show? But maybe you can let them know that I did. And while I'm at it, my sister, who questioned if she was related to me, got a DNA test only to prove that we were. But then we both ended up with an abscess at the same time, somehow. And she lives in California, and I live in New York. We ended up looking like the Ghostbusters 2 ghost painting of Vigo the Great. That's how big our domes got from this infection over here. And, I'd like to give a shout out to that crew over there from the Great Epic Question with Austin the Twink and that racist soundboard lady that won't kiss white men. But anyway, with that being said, go check them out on Spotify. As, they're looking for sponsorship as well. We're all looking for some financial success somewhere along the way. But, we don't want to be The individual with this, the beggar. We'd rather just put up the values. Show why. They might want to think about giving us a shot. You know? Like Snickers. Maybe they want to give us a shot because sometimes Uncle Bobby has to take, his diabetic medicines, and then sometimes the glucose may drop. And then he might just act like an asshole, and he just might need a Snickers bar and take a delicious bite out of a Snickers bar. The caramel, the nougat, and the peanuts. That would raise your glucose up and possibly get you to, not pass out and do those mini comas that we go through and nobody understands. And maybe we won't lose so much minerals and fluids and electrolytes. I like to think they're still the most electrifying podcaster in podcast entertainment. And with that being said, maybe we can get it Funko popping again. The only adult time Funko Pops over here. I talked about exploring the many different ideas of an adult type Funko Pop. Sexy Funkos. And different multiversal Uncle Bobby Funkos. With the many variants and wigs that the man may be wigging out on. But with that being said, I still think about the idea of getting a sandwich made in my name, because they say you never made it famous until you get a sandwich made in your name. And I like to think that the five folks on YouTube going global. Canada, Mexico, France, Argentina, Australia, Korea. I don't know if they have internet. But anywhere the YouTube can be found, I like to think that Uncle Bobby, the Remember Me podcast, can be a part of your adult time talk conversation, possibly even, the only food for thought. As you take a bite out of a sandwich, as we talk about bringing everybody together, like one slice of bread coming, another slice of bread coming together to make a sandwich. I like to think you can help me actually get a sandwich made in my name. We can talk about it. We can vote on the various breads, the processed meats, the processed cheeses, and what can go in between all that, the variants of greens. You got arugula, you got kale, you got romaine lettuce, you got regular lettuce. And what kind of tomatoes you want to use? You want to use fried green tomatoes. You just want regular sliced tomatoes. They got the plum tomato. I don't know. Whatever tomatoes. Maybe chop up baby tomatoes. You want to throw pickles or cucumber. Either way, we got to talk about it. With the cheeses, the cheddars. The Havartis, the smoked provolones, the Goudas, the smoked Goudas. We could go on and on, but I like to think that the people would like to help me make a sandwich. It seems like an Uncle Bobby style sandwich. Something that will go with the show. That's changing the game, making it a culinary experience. And while we at it, can we get it in and talk about the only adult beverage that should go with the sandwich? And what do you drink? What kind of mixes are you making? Are you getting ready to mix it up on your Fridays? And do you just wait to the evening? Do you drink in the morning like Uncle Bobby used to do? Do you drink in the afternoon like Uncle Bobby used to do? Or in the night? Whenever you feel like it, pretty much. You may just be one of those people running around with the, Irish coffee. But, with that being said, we could probably get into that conversation on another show, as I like to, run some of these ideas by you till something, picks up, till the conversation picks up. And the only way to do that is in the comment sections. Continue to comment, like, share, subscribe, and try to help Uncle Bobby go live. And with that being said, even if your Ancestry.com says I am not your uncle, I am your uncle. And until next time, people, remember me.